So welcome everyone to the Drawing and Shading the Face 5-week class. It'll be April 28th through May 26th, 5 weeks. So let us begin. We just went through how to get into the camera and how to dial in with 2 if you chose to do so. So with the class description, are there any questions before we get into this? I'm going to be telling you what it is and what it isn't as we go. Are there any questions up front? Oh, okay. Why I say that is a lot of the using charcoal or using graphite really lends itself to watercolor because you go from light to dark. Opaque painters paint dark to light. So I'll be talking about adding values, which should be my watercolor friends here noticing that's like adding layers. So I think in layers because I'm a watercolor person. You'll be able to translate it just fine, but that's kind of equates to layers in watercolor. So let's see here. So we all have ways of projecting. Aaron talked about the can of beans. There's another method. Who would need it? No one needs it. I'm not going to show it. Okay, cancel that. Okay, so what we're going to cover. All right, so okay, so the first week we're going to be covering the frontal view and a lot of some foundational kind of things that we need to talk about because it'll all build on that. And then we'll start drawing the face. But the first face formulas are really going to be hit on this first week. Next week, the whole thing is going to be about shading. But the next week is going to be about the 3/4 view. And we'll get into more details, more about value scales. And then week 3 will be really zooming in on photos and looking for the very, very subtle nuances of faces. And I'll be zooming in on eyes and zooming in on lips and zooming in and really talking about those nuances. And then, like I say, with Aaron there is that week 4 and 5, we'll see how that goes. Whether I provide you an image to shade or whether you pre-draw an image, maybe the image that I will present. So it's either one way or the other. It's all about shading and creating the volume of the image. And then week 5, the thought is if you have images that you want to draw of your own. Week 4, I have some slides about good pictures. I think you're going to start to see them, ones with some kind of contrast in them, because flat photos are hard to shade and they all look, poorly lit photos are hard to shade and hard to get volume out of. So if you have images that look nice and have some contrast and have some side lighting that you want to draw of your own, then we can talk about week 5. Week 5 is kind of be more in depth and maybe more personal for your wishes. Aaron.
Can I ask a quick question? Are you going to be covering the differences between children and adults?
Yes, briefly. I have some images of children. Children are really hard to draw.
Nothing there.
Because their faces are so unusual. I gave you one in your handout down if you printed those out, there's a picture, there's a full screen picture of Taylor Swift, and then there's one below it with a red-headed gal and then this other gal. If you printed that. Anyways, it's. I was trying to draw that as. I'll show you. Where is she? Here she is. This one.
Yeah, that's
This. I'll be describing. She looks like a woman, but when you draw her, we'll be talking about that. That's a child, because if you, we'll talk about where she's probably under 10 or some doggone thing. Look at the size of her face. We'll talk about her. She was really hard to draw. I was trying to practice on her. Anyways, but that's in your hand. Was that, did everybody print the deals? Yeah. Okay. It'll just be easier to view them. And if you have any feedback about pictures to give you, I'll let you know. So those are going to be kind of this week's class. So sharpening your pencils. Did people sharpen their pencils like that? Okay, good. I didn't want to take the time to do it. I thought that was a pretty decent video, and rather than take time. Okay, so the idea is, and I think most of you understand the sides of the pencil and how, getting because now we're going to start getting our pencils out now. Okay, so okay. So I just want to show you mine. I have a number of them. I wasn't telling you what to draw with, but I have a bunch of them so that if somebody has a different type of pencil, I have some charcoal, I have my plain old school pencil. This ebony is really nice. It's a really smooth. Why isn't it? It's real smooth, but it's like a 6B. Really a nice drawing. And then I have some other pencils. So, but the idea is we're going to be drawing mostly, we're going to be drawing with the side so we get a soft view. And then we can get a line, and then we can get down to a point for very, very hard details. So that's the point of it. And this is, like I say, a pretty advanced. Nobody's really rookie here. All right, let me stop this. Okay. I've learned some commands too. Okay. Share. Okay. Got a lot of buttons in front of me here. Stop share. Okay, so let's go back to this screen here. Oops, sorry. I want to share. Okay, so with your different tools, I want to explain holding. If you can, I want you to hold your pencil about, okay, so now we're going to start making motions. You get your paper out, get your pencils that you're choosing, and I just want to kind of do this briefly because none of you are really rookies at this. but I want some kind of shapes. And then we're going to talk about gray scales here. So on your little paper, yeah, get a sense for the motion you're going to make with like doing ovals to start with. That's where I was kind of showing my little camera here. You're going to be using you're going to be holding, if you can see my camera down here, the little picture. I want you to not hold your pencil like this. If you can see my little hand, pencil. I want you to, as if you pick up your pencil, you're going to be grabbing the side. So just so that we're all the same. We're all using the side of our pencil. We're not going to be doing this until the very end of the detail, end of the. I'm going to be using right now some paper because it's big and I can draw big and I can draw dark. But just the idea is start to draw some little ovals, and then we're going to get more into ovals. But I want to talk about a little bit of the value scale here. But just, I personally like the short pencils because they fit in my hand better. And because of that, I am kind of a fan of using chunk charcoal because it fits in my hand. So this is all going to be personal preference. Short pencils or long pencils that hang out of your hand, but we're going to be using the side of it. Okay. So now, just kind of getting the feel for it now. The paper that you're using is going to be really important based on what kind of pencil you're using. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, let me ask you this, does everybody have smooth paper versus medium tooth paper? I'll show you the difference here. And if you're having troubles getting a certain value, this is probably the reason. Okay, so I have a demonstration prepared here. I have a stack of different papers, and some are medium tooth drawing papers are harder to, will be harder in this class because it's hard to get a smooth value on it. For example, if I use charcoal, I can't really get, I can't go any lighter. I just, so if you can't go light, you have too much tooth and it causes a bit of, you just can't go light. So that's medium. This is, this style paper is also kind of a medium tooth. This one tells you it's a medium tooth. And you'll see that it's just not easy to draw light and smooth. Okay. However, when you get into, like this one is fine, it's much, much smoother to draw on. And this paper here, this brand, is very similar to like printer paper when it's fine texture. So really nice and smooth. I have a lot of control with that. So that's fine. This one is fine. Instead of being the drawing paper, this one's called sketch. This one is fine. The smoothest of all paper is Bristol. This one is like flat, the smoothest paper, and you can really get soft blendings. There's no pores of the paper to get into. So if you are into that level of drawing, kind of atelier paper too, Dan, don't they use Bristol? Very, very smooth.
Probably.
Yeah, because it's just, they're using just the lightest thing. So anyways, that is the smoothest type of paper, Bristol. So we'll kind of notice as you're drawing. And so what we're going to do a little bit here is, come on, we're going to experiment a little bit with what you are drawing on and what you're drawing with. And we'll get much more into value scales in the future week, but I just want to show you what you're set up with right now. Okay, so the paper you have in front of you, I want to start off with, I will use just a regular old school pencil here. Just up in the corner so you're not taking up a lot of space. Whichever way you want to go, make some kind of a shape like this. This is the start of a value scale. Okay, come in focus. Okay, so if you make a line like this and try to make as light of a line, a shading that you can, and make it off the lightest you can make it. Okay, and then make a line and then kind of do the same pressure and add another value to it, wash. And that's kind of another value darker. And then keep going and make a noticeable difference in change, and start pressing a little harder and a little harder. And pretty soon you won't be able to tell much difference. And then the last square is where you kind of lean on it with your tip. And that's the final value that we'll use at the last stages. But this is the color of the paper. We may talk about toned paper, where the gray is actually in the middle, and then we can use white paint or white charcoal. But this scale will vary, and if you have another tool in front of you, this is that 6B. These are like HB, which is right in the middle. This is kind of a hard pencil. Ebony is like a 6B. And for me, it's really hard to get light to get the first value, and then try another one. And you'll find you can get darker a whole lot easier. And if you can keep going, and then at the end, when you lean on it, it's so smooth and greasy black that you can get really dark. So if you have other tools, practice with this. But the real challenge is going to be to get the first call it local color. This is something taking it off of the white of the paper. We're going to be drawing our first sketches in these first few values. And then as we get more confident with the placement of our drawing, then we're going to start to firm it up. And then the last, you'll reserve these last stages to the 95% of our drawing phase. We don't want to go this dark until the very, very, very end. So we're going to kind of hang around this light value. So if you have charcoal prepared, you can practice a few of these just to kind of get the feel. But what you're really, like this is 6B on copy machine paper. And it's like, I can't get light. This is 6B charcoal. You know, it's just really hard. Everything goes dark. So this would not be a good tool to use with this kind of paper. It's just too hard to control. 6B charcoal. So I was kind of playing with this with all different types of paper, and you can play with this too. Change your tool, change your paper, and see which one of them matches your style of drawing. Let's see what Dan did here. So let me just let's just spotlight this. Let's just look at Dan's here.
So the bottom was charcoal and the top is just my 2B pencil.
Okay, so you could see your second one was really, it's really dark, and then your 2B up on top, or a 6B.
Just the pencil.
Yellow pencil. Okay, yeah. So at the very end, you didn't get very dark with that pencil. Was that the tip of the pencil at the end?
Pretty much.
Okay. Let's look at the others. Sarah's here. This is Sarah here. Yeah. Oh, that's hard to get light, eh, Sarah? Oh, I think that's Sarah. Yeah, Sarah, it's very light. That would be a hard one to use. 6B looks good on your paper there. 2B looks like a good match on your paper.
This is Bristol paper. I switched papers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but this charcoal. Oh, my boys are gone upstairs. Yay.
That's Bristol paper?
This is Bristol paper. Yeah.
So you can't get any lighter than that second value with that pencil.
Right. This
Wow.
is, it's charcoal though.
Yeah. That would be very hard to control.
Yeah.
Don't use that.
Okay.
Okay.
Got
Let's
it.
see. Let's go to Linda here. Replace. Here's Linda. Yeah. So you're starting to, now I can see the tooth on your paper, Linda, just by the angle of your paper. So yeah, that's much smoother. Yeah. So this is kind of, it's matching the paper you want to draw with and the tool you want to draw with. You might change, if you really like using 2B, 4B, 6B graphite, you might change your paper. If you really like using a certain type of paper, you'll change your tool. So it's all about getting a feel for it. And I'm going to use plain old paper, so it's because I know everybody has it. Let's see who else. Okay, that's the only cameras I see. Okay, so let's let us move on.
And that I've done this.
Oh, Aaron, let's see. Oh, Aaron,
Oh.
add spotlight. Here we go.
This is on a really, really smooth.
Yeah.
and it's hard to get dark. I don't think I like it.
Yeah. What paper and what?
Yeah, the label is off, but it's almost like tissue paper. It's so light. I think
Okay,
it must be used with markers, maybe.
but it's kind of toothy.
No tooth at all. It's really slick. It's hard to get dark.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, this is about
Yeah,
understanding how they vary, and these first two lessons are about how light can you go, how much control do you have with lightness. It's easy to lean on the pencil, but it's difficult to get to go light. So
you ever switch tools to get dark?
if you're going to use that smooth, well, you can change paper. Do you have other paper?
Oh yeah, I've got other paper.
Yeah. Well, if you're having trouble getting light with the tools you have in front of you, then maybe change paper or come up with a harder pencil.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So now let's step into we're just going to roughly draw an oval or an egg, whichever you choose, again to show, and I will show you. Okay, let's look at this egg here. We're going to talk about these shapes, and we're going to draw eggs when we get into like week 3, when we're talking about volumizing and shading eggs. We're going to start to look at highlights, shadows, or like this is local value, like the base color of a skin. And then we're going to talk about the core values. But just instead of just drawing a horizontal line, let's just try drawing an egg or an oval. You know, it doesn't really matter. Stop share. Okay, let me get back to me here. Okay. Get rid of you and get rid of. Okay, so draw an egg shape to start with. I'm trying to get back to me. Okay, and I will show you, oops, I will show you mine. Okay. Where am I? Okay. So I'm going to spotlight. This is me now. All right. So this is where coming up with the type of paper and the type of pencil, whatever shape you have, might be better if I shut some light off. Let's see if this is better. Okay, so the idea is, let's say the light is coming from this way, and we're going to have some kind of an amount of shadow. This first layer is what we did with the value study, and then we'll learn about the darker terminator line, and things get darker. But we want to have these extra layers in our tool belt, and then so you can start to break that line into the midtones. But that layer, you have to have control of that layer. And then, you know, keeping the highlight. And then as it gets darker, that's another value darker. And so this whole area is in shadow, but then when we go into the reflected light, we're not going to lift it. We're just going to make the shadow a little darker and just keep adding value and softening that line. And then down here, the same thing. And then at the very end stage, when we start to lean on the pencil, we'll start to come up with these, there's a term for that. And then we want to soften that out. We don't want a line, but we're going to use all of the values to create, and then you fine tune it. See, I have a little bit of a harder thing that just needs to be blended out. So this is going to be a lot of week 3, but choosing your tool, choosing your pencil and your paper, if you have difficulty doing this because it's your paper's too rough or your pencil's too hard or too smooth, you want to be able to control your medium in your pencil so that you can create a nice soft edge. And that's how we're going to do noses and everything else. So that's, you know, by not handing you a certain piece of paper, you're all using different combinations. So, so practicing an egg or a circle or any of these other shapes gets you to get the feel, because this is how we're going to form a face. We need that control. We're going to use the first few values for the probably 80% of the drawing, and then at the very end is when we're forming and building up the value to create the form. So in the next week, practice that. See, you can, when I look at my screen, I can see it more than I can here. But you know, I don't want to have that definite line there. I want it to be definitely darker, because that's what the Terminator is, where it breaks. Okay, so this is something that takes time to practice. So let me give you a little bit of time. I'll unspotlight myself. And I'm going to, and so again, what if you guys aren't seeing everyone up in the corner, one of your corners is gallery view. Ideally, I would like you to be able to see each other's progress as you're doing it. You'll see mine and everybody else. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for with, go ahead, Aaron.
I was just gonna participate and show my,
Oh, yeah, good. So you have a good feel for what you're doing there. Yeah. And then too, yeah, you shaded the background to make the highlight brighter.
I've never heard of the Terminator line though. That's a good way to start.
The Terminator starts with your second value. You know, it gives you a place to know where it's kind of the medium dark, and then everything goes lighter from that, or everything goes well, everything goes lighter from that because it's the darkest. Let's look at Sarah here. Play spotlight.
Oh, this is the Terminator line here. Okay.
Okay, up a little bit. All right. Yeah, on the one on the left, it just kind of looks like a half thing. You need a little more blending. The one in the middle, you just haven't started yet, I
I
think.
haven't started. My equipment had a failure here. It fell apart. So.
Oh, okay. So it's just blending it. Yeah, just keep going.
Okay.
Let me go to Linda here. Yep, looks nice. That looks, you can go a little bit more around the backside, but the idea, a lot of people think that they're going to lift the reflected light, and it isn't lifting the reflected light, it's just leaving that reflected light lighter. It's still in the shadow area. Yeah. So just, yep, you just got to finesse it. That looks good. And then maybe the, what do they call it? They call it the, that little line. Yeah, you could, and then pull that out. So it just, you don't want a line there. There you go. Yep. So now you have an edge and then a soft edge on that. That looks perfect. Yep. Looks good. Okay. Remove spotlight. Okay. Who else? How you doing? Okay. Yeah, here's Dan's. Yeah. Yeah, your reflected light might be a little bit
Nice.
light,
Too light.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
fine.
that's it
You're
looks
right.
good. It
It's
looks
good,
good.
so.
And you could do like Aaron did is shade the background on the light side to make the light even lighter, right?
Correct.
On the, so it would be shade. I didn't do that, but shade the background. Yeah, you could, and then all of a sudden the light becomes lighter. And we're gonna do that when we do blonde hair. How do you make blonde hair on white paper? Well, you make the background darker than the blonde hair. So that's for Carolyn's benefit. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, that's good. So you can kind of, it's kind of a balancing act. I wanted to take this time for you to play with each one of your things as we go along. You'll see that some tools and some paper aren't working for you, and now you can feel the difference. Did you want to say something, Tom?
Yeah, my phone died, so that's why my picture's not up there. I had it plugged in, but apparently the plug is faulty or something. So I'll, at some future point, I'll fix that. But
you plug it in now and have it for the later part of the class?
I will, but I think it popped out of Zoom, and so it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass to get it.
Okay. Well, hold up your work. How you doing? Okay, let me get rid of this one. Hang on, let me just.
I don't know.
I gotta
didn't
shut
have
up.
pencils properly sharpened, so I'm having a little trouble with getting the side thing going on and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's kind of why I'm showing you. That looks good for what you have. If you're just using the tip.
Well, I was trying to use the side. I just quickly did this right now while you were doing that.
Okay.
Right. And this paper is a little bit bitier than the printer paper, so it's probably a little not quite right. I'll have to
Okay.
switch. Over.
So if you have some printer paper available, you could
Yeah, I got some
you could
upstairs.
play with that.
Yeah.
Just printer paper is cheap. I hang on to the reject backs and I draw on the back because I'm cheap. So, okay, let's see where we're at here. Okay, so eggs. Practice these and you'll really get a feel, because when we get into, especially the first 2 weeks here, it's going to be kind of flat faces. And where am I? I'm gonna hang on a second here. This one's here. Okay. So practice eggs. We're going to be using more shading. This week's pictures are going to be less, it's going to be more about positioning of the features than it is about shading. So let us begin drawing here. Okay. So you can keep that same sheet of paper there or start a new one. But now what I want to do is start drawing non-specific faces, not necessarily faces you recognize. We're going to start using the formulas. Okay, so let's start with making ovals. Now you have this handout. Let's see. You have this. You do not have this page. You have. Okay, you have a more advanced. Dig out the piece of paper that looks closest to this, because we're going to talk about that. Okay, so what I would like you to do is to start to draw, if you're able to, draw eggs. I have found that it is kind of difficult, even though you know what an egg looks like, that some will have difficulty drawing an egg. They will draw ovals. And so that's fine. All right, so let me show you what I mean. So just get your pencil comfortably in your hand and start to draw on this paper. This paper is really slick. This is my newsprint. If those of you, and if anybody lives around me, I still have unlimited supply of this newsprint that you're welcome to have.
I'll take a ream.
Yeah, you're yeah. Are you still down? You're down in the cities now?
No, I'm up here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I got plenty of it. So start to draw. If you can draw, start to think about the shape of a face and think of it as an oval. Get your arm moving. And then if that becomes comfortable, try going the other direction, because that will become less comfortable. But draw a whole bunch of, if you have a tendency to want to draw circles, that's fine. But then as you can see that one drawing I gave you, you kind of need to put a jaw on it. So if you want to draw a circle, you need to dip down. But circles, we'll find, are too wide. And so you'll have to trim off the end when we get closer to it. So, but draw circles both ways. If you can draw an oval, that's kind of what we're after, because that's more the shape of a face and it's narrower on top. Circles are too wide. Eggs are a little bit narrower and more realistic. Okay, so
Top or bottom?
say again, Aaron?
Narrower on the top or the bottom? Because those look like inverted eggs to me.
It is an inverted egg. It's
Okay.
still an egg.
So narrower on the bottom. No.
Yeah, jaw. Jaw shape.
I thought you said the other opposite. Sorry.
Oh, well, I might have.
I have cold brain really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but I just want to just make it clear that if ovals are easier or circles are easier, you have to shave off some of the edge. Okay, but keep these circles, and then we're gonna turn the page, and then we're gonna start to get a little bit more detail. But we'll come back to these. None of those shapes. There are fat-faced people, so you know, I'm just talking about some standard here. So even though they're overly narrow, or even though they're overly wide, it doesn't matter. There's still people that look like that. Okay. So we're trying to draw from our shoulders, not our fingertips. Okay. You okay, Dan?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna point out, I think I'm the only one standing.
Oh, that's right. You like to stand. You're a stander.
It makes it easier with doing
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
shoulder and arm.
Yep.
My shoulder's getting tired.
Right, right. And then too, the
Yeah,
angle that
that's
you,
because you're holding your arm up. This way your arm's going down.
yeah, gravity.
Let you in. I don't think he's let you in yet.
Okay, so do what makes you feel good. All right, so now I'm gonna go, let's move on here. All right, now the next phase is to, so keep a lot of circles, change paper, and I gotta sneeze.
That's you.
Oh,
Well, that was
put
just,
your mask on.
that was a preemptive one. What's that, Todd?
I said, put your mask on. I don't want
Yeah,
to get over.
Damn mask. Okay, so now the next step after we got the ovals is to put a nice soft slash through the middle, and that's symbol.
Ask him to
So keep your drawings fairly,
accept
you
your.
know, fairly large. Don't get too small here, and put
I
a.
think Tom has a question.
Oh, Tom.
Yes, so I got my phone back on, but you have to re-accept me in.
Oh, thought I did that. Okay.
You did, but then I lost my battery and it kicked me out and I had to get back into the Zoom thing on it.
Okay. Where are you? Okay, invite. Tom's phone. Yeah, you're on.
I don't see it.
Let me, do you have your camera on? Yeah, it
Yeah.
says Tom's iPhone. Here, let me,
It says it's
yeah,
on.
yeah, we see you. Yeah, you're there.
There it is.
Oh,
Okay. Now if you could turn
I-
your phone sideways, you're just drawing at an angle, which is fine if that's fine with you. Okay,
all right, that's better.
okay.
A little blurry, but
It's blurry right now. All right.
looks better blurry.
Okay. So so now we're going to draw ovals, and we're going to put slashes in the middle of it, and then we're just going to keep progressing here. So the idea is, and I sent you this picture of these people, this crowd of people. The idea is, notice how their eye sockets include the, you know, as symbols, their eye sockets kind of start, that shaded area starts from their eyebrows and goes below their eye socket, right? And somewhere in the middle is an eye. So that's kind of what I want you to kind of draw a bunch more ovals, and then we're gonna use these circles. So draw a bunch more ovals and put that light slash right in the middle. Okay. Okay, and then we're gonna grab that other handout that you had. And why is mine blurry? This is mine. No, I don't have enough. There. my camera needs something to focus on, and if it sees nothing but whiteness, it's okay. So draw a bunch more. Okay, I'm looking at you, and Linda, you're a little wide. That's a pretty round head. You might draw them a little smaller and a little more of them. Sarah's, yours are good. Looks fine. Aaron's,
You can see that.
yep. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Okay, so now we have a couple of circles. The next slide we go to. What's this? Okay, let's move this over. Okay, so these are just faces, and I gave you these faces. Notice when we look at a symbolic face, you notice that the nose, we're not drawing a nose, we're drawing what's around the nose. We're not necessarily drawing eyebrows and eye sockets. You can see with women, if you look down here, we'll start to notice that the shape of a woman's eyes are a little different shape than men's eyes, especially adult men with deeper socket eyes. So I'll start pointing out these similarities. But this is kind of what these eggs are. You're getting inspired by seeing these shapes of heads. They're eggs, and they have a line through the middle. And so let's progress. I gave you this copy, and I'm going to be talking about this more in week 3. So hang on to it, but we'll be coming back to these point by point as the time goes on. Okay, so now let's talk about the differences of men and female, male and female shaped heads. You have this image too. Okay, so draw an oval. Most of your ovals, okay, let me come to my camera here. Okay, most ovals that we're drawing have a little bit more pointed bottom to them. Okay, so that has a tendency to be a female face, but if you draw the face a little bit more angular, you'll notice that it kind of turns more masculine. Women's heads as a whole are a little narrower than a man's, and men just will just have a little bit more angularity to them. Not all, but I'm just saying that if you draw a man's face and it looks feminine, it might be that the chin is a little bit pointy. And the same thing with a woman is if it looks a little masculine, you know, take a look at the chin. So draw both male heads and female heads and kind of recognize that you start to notice a difference. And then, of course, put the slash in the middle. And okay, so let's see how you're doing. Anybody having any questions as how this is feeling? Let me zoom in on a few of you here. Spotlight. Here's Tom's. Yep. Yep. A little bit wide, Tom, but these are wide-faced people. Now, the other thing is, Tom, with your wider face is you might be able to put your ears within that extra width. So that could be essentially the outer edge of the ear when we get to it on the wider faces. So
Gotcha.
they still have value, but it's just as a critique, they're a little bit wide. Okay. Let's see who else is out here. Gallery view. Okay, let's look at Aaron here. Yep. Yeah, they're more. There's a lot of oval to them, but hair. We're gonna be able to do that with the lines. The one with the nose, the eyes are getting a little bit high above center.
Okay.
So as some of those are a little bit higher than center.
Okay, and
That's-
too oval, they should be a little lower.
What's that?
And too long? Too
Well,
oval?
just use the side of your pencil rather than the tip there. Yeah, just get the eye. See, the eyes are going to be in the center. The eyebrows are above center, but this whole fuzzy slash is kind of in the middle.
Better?
Yeah. Okay. Here, I'll show you. Let me just show you. Where am I? Let me gallery view.
Yeah, I think I see.
Here I am. Okay. So, okay. So again, we're gonna, when we go to this next step here,
I get it. I think
well,
this-
let's go to the next step. It'll make more sense. Okay,
Yeah.
you have this piece of paper, and we can look at. We're gonna go to this piece of paper now. Okay, this piece of paper needs to be framed because this is all the secrets in the world to drawing a face. So this portion right here is really, you need to memorize this inside and out. This, I didn't invent this. Leonardo da Vinci designed the face or something, but if you notice, and I'm sure all of you that have ever drawn a face, the eyes are in the center. Now what happens is, and then the nose is halfway between the eyebrows and the chin. A lot of people will put the nose between the eyes and the chin. And please notice that the nose, otherwise the nose gets too long. So that shadow is kind of saying that whole eye socket, that symbol of going across the middle is to say the top of the eyebrows and the eyes are somewhere in there. But please notice that the nose is positioned between the eyebrows and the chin, not the eyes and the chin. And then the mouth is a third of the way. And then some will say that the top of the chin is the other third, but we're not, that's kind of what that other mark is there. But so this, so we can start to now go back to our eggs that we've drawn and now start to put in. So now we have an egg and now we say halfway. And so I'm going to say the eyebrows are kind of on the top of this shadow. And so from here to here, the nose is halfway. And when I put this little very light mark in there, this is the shadow. This is the shadow of the underneath the nose. You see these little, it's not the tip of the nose. It is the shadow underneath the nose. And so with that, we're going to be able to fudge that as we go on. Okay, so on some of these circles, you did put that, and then 1/3 of the way down, you can kind of put a horizontal mark. Very lightly, the lightest you can make it with your pencil. So, and then you might just put corners of it. And then you can put that other little shape in there. But they all of a sudden start to take on a little bit of human. And then we're going to talk about the eyes in here, the symbols of the eyes. Okay. So, on that piece of paper, I showed you, if you look at the bottom of that piece of paper, I made these symbols here. At this stage of the drawing, this is really all I want to see for an eye. Don't fill it in, don't shade it, because these could very easily be moving, and I want them to be very light and just place markers. But if you're looking at a face, if you're looking at an actual person in front of you that you're laying in the marks on, you know, you can use their eye shape, you know, if they're, you know, more droopy eyed, you know, or sleepy eyes, whatever eye you're trying to draw, but keep them very light, because the odds of them moving is good, and you want them very easy to be able to erase out. Same thing with the nose. We don't know exactly where the nose is, but in order to adjust the positioning, we have to have something down, and we say, oh, the mouth is too high, too low, the nose is too long. But we need something in order to reference it being off. But you need to get some of these marks down. So, eyes are in the middle, nose, mouth, and then in a second, okay, let's do that, and then I will comment more. Remove spotlight. Okay, gallery view. Okay, so now I went back to my gallery view, and I'm looking at yours. Let's look at Dan's. He's going like crazy here. Yeah. Looks good. That's nice and soft and blendy. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Okay. Where are we at here, Dan? Here's Linda's phone. Linda. Yep. Can you tilt? Yeah. Go up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The eyes are just small, but they're in the right spot for the generic. This other one with a little smirk on its face. I mean, it doesn't take much to get a little personality in them. Okay, you could make the nose shadow a little bit softer rather than a line, because when you draw a line, it's harder to erase than the side of your pencil. So you'll just find that when you adjust it, it's easier if it's softer. That's all. So what else? That's Aaron here. Spotlight. Oops, add spotlight. Let me remove spotlight. Hang on 1 second, Aaron. Remove, and here's Aaron. Yeah. The top right, you know, your eyes are a little high. You're having a tendency to put your eyes high, but that's, again, it's the features with the features compared to themselves are good. It's just in the circle, it might be a little bit high, which is nothing. That's very nice, very nice. Where else? Sarah's, let me zoom in on you. Oops. Sarah's. Yep. Good. Okay, let's keep going here. Anybody want to gallery view? Okay, anybody? Okay, let's keep going here. Okay, so now we know eye symbols. So now here are some guys that that we want to so when we look at these eyes, you can kind of well, let's move beyond. This was kind of a notice that they start off as placeholders, and the reason there's no bottom lid, let me see if I can just zoom in on one of these people. If you notice the bottom of this person's eye, the bottom lid reflects light, so it's not a black line at the bottom. The top, underneath the top lid, is dark because that's in shade. But in reality, the bottom lid is actually light. And I want you to be able to see that because people want to draw the whole eye as like an almond shape. But the bottom lid is actually light. And I want you to see that it's lighter than, say, where the eyelashes are. So this is kind of the start of this observation. She has makeup on, but the lower lid is reflecting light and it's white. Okay? That's why the symbol is only the top lid and the bottom lid. That's why the symbol looks like that rather than an almond. Okay? So now eye placement. This is a classic formula, and it's oh, how are we doing here? 10, 11:30. Let me just cover this and we can take a little break. For the most part, no matter the size of the person's face, this is pretty much a standard that eyes are one eye width apart. There are variations, and I have some pictures of that. But when you stare at the model or the image you are drawing, you're going to look, is this true on your person? I'm going to be showing you how we can measure this, but if you look, and if you got your little dividers, you can use a piece of paper or whatever means, but I want you to recognize that eyes are that eye is the same. There's a space between the two eyes that equals the width of the eye. Her eyes kind of angle up. Her eyes are more round. His eyes lids are, but the distance between the corners of the eyes, between the eyes, and the other corners of the eyes are the same. This guy here has very small features. His eyes aren't necessarily too close together. They're just small in relation to the width of his face. But they too are one eye. There's an eye between the eyes. Okay. That's pretty important and pretty standard. Lengths of nose, widths of mouth, they're all over the place, but eyes placement, eye spacing is kind of a standard. Okay. So now let me show you, this. Oops, stop the share. And I'm going to share this right here. Okay, share basic. Hang on. I use fancy features here. Okay, so now when we talk about eye placement, those who have had this class before recognize this. Okay, their eyes are one eye apart. The other interesting feature, let's start with Taylor here. If you notice, she's got one eye between her eyes, but also her mouth happens to be a perfect square between her eyes to her mouth. This is you won't see this anywhere else. So this is I invented this. Okay, and then same thing with old Elvis here. This is something when you're looking at a photo, visually measure or use a device to measure the space between the eyes and then come down. Where does the mouth lie? Is it a perfect square like these two? Or how about this gal? Her eyes are a little wider. And if I do the same thing, this is not a square anymore, it's a rectangle. So for this gal, there's a square. So you have, before you start to draw, you have to recognize what is the relationship of her eyes to her mouth. Is it a square or is it a rectangle? If you make her a square, it'll be somebody else. So it's kind of a visual, you kind of visually can see squares. Okay, let's take a look at these people. Okay, her eyes, you can see this is kind of a rectangle, but it's a do you know why it's a rectangle? Well, I'll tell you. It's a rectangle because she's kind of looking off to the side. When people look sideways, that the spacing between their eyes will get narrower, and so you have to recognize it's not always a square. It depends on the placement of their head. So the next guy over here he's pretty true to the shape. So if you look at him, before you draw him, you'll say, how is that relationship between the eyes and the mouth? Well, he's pretty square. Well, how about this guy over here? Well, he's got small features on a bigger head. And if you drew him, you would have somebody else. So his features are, well, I showed this one as an actual square would be the outside of his eyes. But you kind of get the idea is that it's a standard, it's not a rule, right? How does this person deviate? He's got a much narrower face. This black guy over here has a more standard proportion face. Okay. That's
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
When you are measuring the distance between the eyes, they're an eye width apart. You are measuring from the outside of the eye to the inside of the eye, correct?
Yeah, let's go back a slide or two here.
But now when you're measuring that square, you're measuring from the.
Right, that's two different measurements. The eye distance is from the, now she has makeup on, that can be a little deceiving.
Yeah.
But it's from here to the eye duct,
Got it.
eye
Okay.
duct to eye duct, and then the outside. And you have to just kind of look through the makeup. So here he goes.
Okay.
Eye duct to eye duct to eye duct to eye duct. And also, while you're measuring, you will also find as a rule that the width of this eye to the side of the face is also something to note. That's also often referred to as an eye width. So people will say there's 5 eyes wide.
And somewhere else didn't work.
One eye, the center eye, and then the 2 side eyes. So that's kind of I'm not that hung up about that right now, but that's how to measure. Okay?
Okay. So then when you're doing your little square though, you're measuring from the pupil, the
Yep,
inside
yep,
of
the center.
pupil, the
Yep.
center.
Yep.
Center of the pupil too.
Well, it's easiest to visually look at a photo or look at a person and put up your little dividers at arm's length and kind of go center eye to center eye.
Yeah.
And then turn it sideways and go center eye down to the mouth.
Okay.
And just check that relationship.
Thank you.
So like,
Oh, yeah.
okay. This, if something's not clicking, I want to, this stuff is really important. If this doesn't make sense, I'm saying it wrong. So we're talking about the standard, and I want you to see how the person you're going to draw meets the standard or deviates from the standard. But you have to know this standard to start with, and then everybody deviates from this. Okay, this gal is different races have different shaped faces. Ooh, that kind of rhymes. Okay, so old Taylor here, and you have image of her. She fits the standard perfectly. Not all models fit the standard perfectly, but if you see the most beautiful person, man or woman, they fit the standard, or they're famous for deviating from it. So let's draw Taylor. You have an image of her, and here are the steps. We went through to about this point, and then we added the eyes. So I gave you an image of Taylor down here. Yeah. I gave you this picture of her. Okay. So I have a lot of other pictures after her, but I want you to at least draw a person that should be a little easier to draw because she meets the standard. So look at this drawing, and I will stop sharing and show you my picture, and we can draw along together. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to spotlight me. Me. Okay, so let's draw Taylor together in these steps. Now I'm going to use this paper instead because it's a little, I can get lighter values on this paper. Okay, so let me just kind of get set up here for you. And I have her here. So oh. Okay. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. And go ahead. So, you know, again, the first stages, I have to do this a little bit here. Okay. Okay. So, this is what I was saying to you, Tom, is that you can see that if you draw a circle, understand that the center, that this width can be a place for ears. If your circle just happens to get a little wide, that's kind of what this is showing too. So Taylor, you can see her little image down here. She's got a lot of hair, but you can kind of see the point of her chin. I guess I have to get it darker in order for you to see me. This will be a little harder. Okay, so has a little bit more of a pointy chin. I'm going to leave it soft because I'm going to deviate from it. Here's kind of the center and the top of it. Now I can look at her eyebrows and I can kind of see the relative shape of her eyebrows, and I can draw her relative eyebrows. And then I come down half of the way from the eyebrows to what could be the chin and put a shadow mark there. And then put about a third of the way, I can put the center of her mouth. If her picture was bigger, I can use my little fancy schmancy dividers here as a way to measure if I didn't know what she was. I can see, I can do this. Now, if this person's sitting in front of me, remember, you can put these things out in front of you and the person's in front of you and say, okay, this is the space of the person sitting in front of me's eyes. And then I can do this. And then I can say eyebrows to nose, nose to chin. Yep. Okay. I can say, I can do all these things quickly so that when I go to my drawing, I can know how how she conforms to the standard or how she deviates from the standard. Okay. Okay, so just keep going. Now I can see her eyes are angled. I know because I just measured and I just showed you that she's kind of a square. I've laid in where the mouth is, so I can lightly put in that I can erase later to verify that this is where her eyes are going to go. And I've just said that her eyes are, so I have to divide this space, her eyes at angle. That's another feminine feature, the way they use makeup or whatever. But her eyes, so I need to put 4 dots equally spaced. And that's where her eyes, because I just measured them. That is where they start and stop. Okay, so I'm kind of right here. And now I can see her eyes, so I can use no eyelids, no lower lids, so I can start to place little symbols in here that can easily be erased. Okay. So that's where I'm at now. The nose, I can see her nose. It is pretty flat. This is supposed to be the center of the mouth. So I can kind of put in a little bit of a mouth symbol here, very lightly because I could be changing it. Okay, now I'm kind of to here. Okay. Now her ears, she's looking, when someone with normal size ears looks straight ahead, the top of the ear is at the eyebrow, and that's on, okay, I showed you that here. The standard is the top of the ear is even with the eyebrow. The bottom of the ear is with the bottom of the nose. If they look up, that changes. If they look down, that changes. But if somebody is looking straight forward, the bottom of the ear is around the nose. Okay. Unless it's an old English man, and then they're way below the nose. But just as a point of reference. So that's where the ears go. So now I look at my drawing here and I say, well, where's Taylor's bottom of Taylor's ears? Hers is above. So she's looking down a little bit. You can kind of see that. So I'm going to put her ears a little bit above. You can't see this other one. And you can't see the top of this one. Okay. So now I'm about here. Got the ears in. We haven't talked about the shape of ears, but when you see an ear, when we get into it, there's kind of a telltale sign of this little darkness on the top, and there's kind of this shape of the inside of the ear. So you'll see this little mark here, and that little mark there is this little mark here. Okay, just a little detail. So how are we doing here? I'm looking at your. Yep, Sarah, I see you measuring. Yeah. Now her chin on my drawing is not accurate because it's very wide and it's just the way I started it. So don't get, Linda, don't get too accurate just yet. Because at this stage right now, if you get too much with the point of your pencil, Linda and others, Sarah, is that it's harder to erase. So you want to keep it soft and on the side of your pencil as long as you can until you get all the features in there. Yeah, a little wide, but yeah, hang on, Aaron, more on that, but you want to keep things as soft and fuzzy and loose until you get everything in place, because then you want to stop. That was that deal of that one drawing. You have to stop and look and say, well, does it, at this point, does it have value? Is it looking like that person? Because you want to change it now rather than, for those of you that are getting on the tip of your pencil, as soon as you start getting the tip of your pencil, you're committed to that, the placements. So if you are, then that's fine. But now you don't want to fill in the eyes. You don't want to get too detailed until you are fully committed with this is starting to look like her. Okay? Okay. Now I have another slide because we're at this point we are not fully committed to this drawing. The next slide I want to show you. Okay, I say stop. Okay, now we want to go back and cross-check things. Okay, now I've already used her as an example, but your people are going to be different. Is what I have here my drawing? I have, and this is on one of your pieces of paper. Does she meet this? If she does, is my drawing like this? If not, now's the time to change it. Okay, here's another one. This is a what do you call it? A equilateral triangle. If you can visualize an equilateral triangle, you can kind of get a sense. This is between the eyeballs, if you see that. Okay, that's kind of the placement of the nose. Is your nose there? And there's another one here that uses the corner of the eyes. And this is on the handy dandy cheat sheet I gave you with all the faces. This is another method. Am I close? If my person is measured correctly, then you proceed. But you don't proceed until you're satisfied with the placements when they're fuzzy. Okay, that's okay. So I'm going to show you mine, and with those in consideration. Oh, well, we could probably take a break. I was going to take a break after the last one. Okay. Well, so I measured her eyes in this drawing, and I came down, and I go here, and I happen to draw it on my paper, and then I can come down. Okay, that's correct. An equilateral triangle is kind of between those and her nose. Oh, yeah, so kind of, this looks wrong. So I'll measure eye widths. Or if you're an ingenious fellow, you would make a proportional dividers. Look at this device, ladies and gentlemen. So this to this to this. Okay, so she's good enough for me to proceed. Okay. So let me just kind of look while you're all fuzzy here, and let's walk around the room here and see what you got. All right, let's look at Aaron's replace spotlight. Okay. Okay. She looks a little wide.
Yeah,
It looks good, but it just,
it's not quite her.
yeah, I'm trying to, yeah, and why not? It looks like
Okay.
measurements are correct.
Measurements checked out. I think her cheekbones are too high. She has too much cheekbone and they're too high.
Yeah, erase some of that stuff on the eyes, between the eyes. The shape of her head is more angular. Yours is a little bit round. Yeah, the angle of her face.
She's looking down too much, I think. Does she look like she's looking down?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there is room there. That nose might be a little long,
Okay.
and then her lips will be formed shaped. Yeah, the lips are in the right place, but when you get them a little darker, you'll be able to make them a little bit exaggerated like hers are. Yours are more flat. Hers are kind of,
Okay.
tailorish. Yeah, you,
Keep
let's
going.
see. Who else? Where's the rest of you here?
I could show you mine. My phone screwed up again.
Okay, all right, let me highlight you. Go ahead, Tom. Yeah, you put a little hair on her.
Well, that's
Maybe
just
a
my
little
sloppy
wide.
drawing.
Say again?
That's my sloppy drawing. I wasn't trying to put hair on her.
Right. No, I think that's looking good. You got a little wide. Notice the difference on the drawing between the edge of her eye and the edge of her ear. You're just a little wide. Lighten up that ear and bring it in a little bit. The other ear looks fine because it's covered, but
Okay.
yeah. Here's another thing, and I'm going to be talking about these in no particular order. But notice how her jaw, where the jaw breaks. Let me stop this. Okay, let me show you something. Let me show you something about drawings. Let's go to Dan here. Maybe I can do a Dan's picture.
Very fuzzy.
Yep, fuzzy's good.
There's those lines on the side of her mouth.
Yeah. It's a little, the nose might be a little long.
Yeah, it's easier to see when I look at the computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
Is the space between the eyes and the mouth the same on yours? Can you measure that with something?
Yeah, actually, well, depends on where you're, so we're
Center of
calling
the eye.
pupils approximately here.
Yeah.
Mouth should be a little lower.
Yeah, I think her eyes just are a little wide is what I'm thinking. If you measure the width of the eyes from duct to duct there, I think your eyes are just a little bit wide apart, and that you can bring those
That's what
in.
I really put the ducks in, because if I make the eyes a little bigger, then they'll be right.
Yeah.
I think.
But here, I can do this. let's see here. Can I annotate? Oh, that's right. I can't annotate. It just the space between the two eyes looks a little bit wide.
Yeah.
And so you can just, yeah, just bring it over a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a
And
touch
then
and.
put the center of the eyes a little bit more to the center. Yeah, more
I
in.
haven't even really done them yet.
Yeah, so I think that's just, there you go. I think, and at this stage, you can just tweak it a little bit. But yeah, I think that helps. Just needs to probably go in a little bit more. And when you shade the nose, the shadow between the eyes and the nose, that will bring them in a little bit too. So, okay, where are we at here? Who else? And then let's see, Linda's here. Linda's drawing up a storm. Can you, there we go, flatten it out. Let's see. Oh, that's a nice easel. Okay. Okay. The eyes are proportionately large, but they look like they're in the right spot. The corners of her mouth are kind of underneath the eyes, the pupils or the iris, whatever it is, the center. So her mouth is just a little narrow, but that's fine. It's easier to make a mouth wider than it is make it narrower, because you'd have to erase. But that, I think you're looking, I think the spacing looks good. Her eyes are kind of angled up on the sides. That's just her, prettiness. You have them kind of horizontal, so that back duct, when we get into detail with the eye, you might just raise that on the outside angles, the outside of the eyes. You might just raise it up a little when we put a little more detail in the eyes. That's easy to adjust. But yeah, that looks good. Be careful of nostrils. Dan, you kind of drew nostrils in there. Just be careful of them. Okay. Let me move on here. Let's see what else. Who else? Sarah, yours is looking good. Okay, so let's why don't you take a little break here if you have to. Just do whatever you want to do. You take a break or not, or keep drawing. Like 5 minutes, and I'll keep drawing.
Hey, Bill?
Yeah.
I noticed that if I always do this, but when I turned my drawing upside down, it was very obvious how it was cockeyed a little bit by the ears and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's a good tip. You'll know if it's in the center. That's a very good tip. Thanks. But it's funny, you talk to people and it's like, well, I can't draw a face. And it's like, well, do you know what a face looks like? Well, of course I know what a face looks like. Well, then just draw it. I mean, you've seen faces, but not some of these things that I'll be saying over and over and over again. And I didn't finish the one on jaw, but they're just rules that they're symbols to start with. And it cross checks,
Right.
It looks funny with the side of the jaw because it looks round. Well, where does it go from chin to jaw? And that's something that we're going to really hit on in week 3. But I want to show where the jaw is. I can do that here.
Yeah, but I can see that her face is lined up so nicely. She's a lot easier to draw than some of these other people that have kind of abnormal faces.
Absolutely. That's why I'm drawing her.
Right. I mean, that's why when I said Truman Capote, he's got a weird face.
Yep.
Um,
Um,
and so your brain doesn't want to go too far off normal because it thinks it's wrong, but you have to.
yeah, but you have to have a standard. Well, that's where I was just kind of practicing with this young gal. And if you can use your dividers on her face, I don't know if I'm not gonna have you draw her because she's Sherman Capote, but she's got this perfect little face. And if on screen here or on your piece of paper, if you measure her eyes to the top of her eyes to her chin and her eyes to the top of the head,
Oh,
she's got a huge top of her head. Well, why is that? Well, because she's probably 10 years old.
right, right.
You know, and it's like if you draw her as an adult, if you draw her with her eyes in the center of her head,
Mhm.
it's somebody else.
Right,
She's-
right.
I thought she was an adult. She's some actress, but it's like
But it was the same woman, only she was older in the
yeah,
left.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
yeah. Well, I drew a long time ago. I drew a picture of a little girl, and it's like, well, why doesn't this look like her? Well, I had her eyes in the center of her head,
Right,
and it's like it's somebody else. It's somebody much older.
right.
So this gal next to her, whatever her name is, she's got a perfect face. She'd be much, much easier to draw. So anyways, that's I've got a million of these pictures lined up. I'd show you these, but they're kind of dark. I guess they don't show up too dark on here. But these are perfect faces. So let's wait a minute here and we'll start up again. Okay. I just want to show her jaw when we start up again. Oh, okay. Sarah, are you back? Oh, no, you weren't. Okay. Carolyn, are you there? You're muted. Not sure what I see here.
I don't know who you were asking, but I'm back.
Okay. Carolyn, I can't, what, Carolyn's been awful quiet. Carolyn. All right. All right. Let me go back to the share. I just want to make one of a million more points about, do you see, and this is big part of week 3. Do you see where the jaw goes up and then it breaks from the bottom of the jaw, it goes upward to the ear? This part right here and right here, notice where it is. She again is looking down a little bit, but what you'll find is this spot is right across from the mouth, is where the jaw starts to angle up. Instead of being round all the way up, there's a point where it angles and then the angle changes. Like let's look at somebody else here. And this is, again, this is going to be the focus of week 3. See her angle right here where it changes direction? It changes at about the mouth. Do you notice same thing right here where it goes, it changes direction? That is another critical point. I'm getting tired of saying critical. But that's something to notice. This is what we're going to get into is week 3, are these small little details of where that happens. Use it in relationship to what's in front of you.
That narrows the face.
See there, this little corner right here is at about the jaw. Okay, so when we get back to Taylor here, you can see in your close-up. Now, if I look at my drawing, you will. I should have got Carolyn. Oh, I see movement now.
Yep,
Okay, I just I saw what looked like a funny arm there, but
that's my thing that's holding my iPad.
okay. I just I haven't seen much of your stuff. You're alive and well.
Yep, I can show it to you.
Well, I just
Oh, okay.
if you want to share here. Spotlight. Oops. Are you showing it to me?
Would I just press share content?
No, you need to put it in front of your camera.
Oh, okay.
Because I only see one camera on.
Can you see that or no?
I see.
Your
No.
beautiful collection of glass.
Maybe in the back of my camera?
Oh, there you go.
Whoops. I don't know. This is gonna work.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
She took good notes. She's gonna remember it.
Yeah.
I've done that.
I practiced during the week.
Okay. All right. So let me go back to my drawing and just kind of show you. I'll make a little bit of modifications. I'm not spending no excuses. So what was I using here? Here it is. Okay, so I'm going to see now with her jaw. Let's see. I'm going to try to get a little closer here. While it's fuzzy, I can still kind of, again, we'll talk about this in the later weeks, but she's got a chin here. And then she kind of tilts in where her chin is, because this is her chin and this is her jaw. And then there's an angle. What is that angle? Now, if that person was standing in front of me or in the chair in front of me, I could hold my pencil up in front and measure this, and then come to my paper and bring it down here. So I can do that with a photo. I can kind of, if your eye is good, do that. And then I see her jaw breaking right around, it's above her chin. And you want to keep it centered. And then, oops, get my arm in here to draw. Okay, so then this is chin. And then this is jaw. And then it breaks right above her mouth. So it's still fuzzy enough that I've got her a little wide. And then up the side, I'm kind of funny. And then she's got a little jaw here. Let me lift this. It's got more square on. There we go. Try to get a little less distortion here. So that's kind of where I'm at. On women's and children's noses, because again, how light can you go with your pencil? Avoid coming down too far with the edges of the nose, because it becomes that the nose becomes too prominent. So I think she's kind of, I think she's kind of looking like, I think the placements are okay here. Now, what one of you, when you're satisfied with relative placement, then you can start to get a little bit darker, but we're still only maybe this is kind of where we're supposed to be drawing right now. And maybe we're doing a little bit this. And as we're starting to refine our drawings, we're going to maybe go to here, but don't go into this until much, much later. This is probably about as dark as your drawing should go right now until you are 80% done. Because you can really erase and modify this. When you get into these darker ones, you're completely committed. Here you still have some flexibility. When I'm looking at her jaw, and again, I'm using charcoal, but when I'm looking at her jaw, I can very easily come in here and with a kneaded eraser and kind of round that out. I in the side of her face here, I can easily change things as it's coming together. But so don't go too dark. Stay in these one or two until you are so happy that, oh man, this is exactly what she needs to look like. So yeah. Okay. Okay, so keep breathing. I mean, that's kind of, and Dan just did it. Step back and look at it. You have to stop and breathe and look at it and say, this is looking correct, or I need to change something. The sooner you can start decide that something's wrong, the happier you'll be, because you can modify things. If you wait and you get to the tip of your pencil, you won't be able to change things. It'll be too far. And as soon as you recognize, and in my other classes, as soon as you recognize that this is not going right, stop. Because it's easier to start over than to correct something that's too far gone. Okay? It's just, put that one away and start over. And that's with that charcoal. Now with her hair, I can start to kind of place it in here a little bit. Her hair is not, her hair has highlights in it, but her hair is at least one value dark. Even the highlights, and her hair goes way wide here. So watercolor people, this is not, there's no white of the paper in hair. Unless, there is, but, it's not. So this is the first wash or the first value of hair. And this, I'm going to go on to another, hopefully we can do another drawing here, but I just want to show you the beginnings of shading. Is I'm relatively satisfied with her look. And now I'm going to start to add details to her. And when we get into eyes, and we will get into them very deeply here. Eyes have her eye has a little highlight on the top. And then the rest is dark. And then she's got a flat spot on the bottom. And then there's a light spot. And that's her makeup in here. And then she comes down. When you start to do eyes, you'll notice that the upper lid shadows the lower part of the eye. And then that whole lower lid is shadowed. And then some people, some people have that little line there, but that shadow will go all the way down. And then there'll be a light shadow above, and she's got an eyebrow here. And then very, very light in here. So, but this up here is all completely black, tip of your pencil black. That's, and then they're not completely white on the edges. They have a little shadow on there. But this is upper lid. So, okay. So that's kind of what I'm going to do here. I'm going to leave a little highlight. And then I can start to see your eyebrow. I can start to see this. And then this is kind of starting to be more the finishing of the drawing. And So the hair, this part of her hair is dark. Here's another value darker. Caroline, this is for you.
Okay.
This is another value darker over here. Right here, this is another value darker right here. And this is, so these, there's a little highlight right here where her little part is, where the light's reflecting off of it. And then this is a little, you can see these little shapes in here. And then her neck. Oh, I didn't mention that with the difference between men and women. Men have wider necks. If your man looks feminine, check the width of the neck. That's another thing. Men have squarer shoulders and they have wider necks. Women have narrower necks and pointier heads. So it's okay, so oh, all right, here's another one. Notice, look right here for a second. It's harder to kind of see, but notice her shoulder line here. When you look at where do I put someone's shoulders, take a look at this line and look at where it intersects with the face. Like it intersects like right here on her chin. This shoulder kind of looks like it intersects up higher, up here. So this shoulder, so her chin still looks funny, but I can shade the difference. So this shoulder, I will kind of put it here, and this shoulder kind of points up here, and then her shirt comes down, whatever. But we'll see this more when we try to put in where the shoulders go. I'm gonna look at her neck. It's kind of buried in the hair here, but there's a little bit of a light spot. So same thing over here. But the shoulders kind of look at how it, what, with reference to the face, where does the shoulders point? And then, so now we can just kind of refine it out and, okay, so kind of get to a finishing point here, and we'll go on to a different person. Equally perfect, but just different. We're going to go through each of the features, and I'll tell you some little differences about them. Yeah. This is not my finest work, but her lips got big, her eyes got funny. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just looking around the table here. Linda, that yeah, that's looking really good. Do you agree? I mean, that one, it's looking like her now. It was a little wide before, and I don't know what you changed, but it looks good. It looks coming around. Sarah, your lower portion, the nose and mouth, I think are just a little low. It could be
The measurement,
just
I had to lower them because my square was not,
oh,
but now it feels low, yes.
yeah, the nose seems a little wide. Hers, she barely has the lighting on her nostril flares.
And that this line out on the outside is actually the shadow
Yep. Yep.
outside of the nose. It's not,
Okay. Then here,
bring that in more.
let me show you, if I wanted to do that, well, I mean, I'm looking at something that's kind of hard to see. It looks like a line. If you're going to put a mark there, then like, let's say the nostril, let me look at her nostrils. Her nostrils are, they kind of come across.
Yeah, I don't have those in yet. They're in here more.
Hers is kind of like this. It's so soft. Again, it's hard for me with the charcoal. So when you're doing this edge right here, like you were doing,
Yep.
Immediately don't have a line there and kind of show the edge rather than having a line. Have it more of having a shadow. Then, even if you do that, and then the flares, we'll talk to great depths about noses and how they're shared. But she's, she's got a very narrow nose. But how the flares come around differently. And then this part here. So when you do a line, like even the nostril line, it's almost like with charcoal, you can kind of soften it out or just kind of bring it out of value. She's got this little part that goes here. Well, we all do. And then this part kind of comes down.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just when you get a line, try to make it part of the rest of the face. I don't know. Okay, what do we got here? Half an hour. So let's see. Anybody's got any questions?
What did I do to these eyes? They're not working.
Okay, hang on. Let me spotlight. Okay. Oh yeah. Nice.
Pretty.
Yeah. If you shade a little bit of that forehead space, it'll start to, I mean, it looks great. The next level would be to start to lightly shade.
Oh, shade. Okay. Oh yeah, because the air makes a shadow.
This little plane here, replacement. This little plane right here.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you're beyond what I wanted you to get out of this drawing, but it starts to push the plane of that back. And then two, you didn't spend the time shading the hair, but the whole thing is one value. It's like, again, with watercolor, you'd lay down the whole hair with brown or white or whatever it is, even if it's, and then you start to come back with values, and then you're going to be blending it later on. And light hair will look light if it's, surrounded by darkness. So, okay, let's move on. And then this is, okay, enough of Taylor Swift. Okay. Let's, how are you feeling here? Is this,
This is great.
That was good. Um, what I'm trying to cover at this point is trying to go through this formula and understand it to a point that we're going to be using this heavily when we do the side of the face, and this one. So I want you to you should know this formula so well that you can use it forwards and backwards. For example, if you love the person's eyes, you can start, like I say, you can start with the eyes and no head, if you know it, and then you say, okay, well, then I could put the mouth in because I know that this person's mouth fits the formula. And then if I know that, and I know the eyebrows are kind of like this, I could say, well, eyebrows, this is a third of the way. I can kind of imagine a chin in here. Third of the way, I can put a nose in here. Boop, boop. Here's the part of the hair. And so whichever feature if you start with the mouth, you could add the nose above it. Okay, well, the nose is right here. Well, if you know the nose and you know the mouth, well, then the eyes must be up here, so it's the more you understand that formula and can work forwards and backwards from it, you will be able to things will make more sense. And when we turn the face 3/4, you're going to want to know that if the eyes are in the middle, well, then the nose. If the eyebrows are here, and then the nose is going to be halfway, and the mouth is going to be at 3/4 of the way. So this is what's leading us to next week is you have to know that formula here because we're going to use it, of course, for drawing the next phase. So it's not that you probably already know it. Okay, so let's go to just another picture just for fun. And I gave you, let's see what I gave you. How about this one? This is a very, you printed this. Oh, one thing, I sent you a high contrast, or I sent you what was normal on my printer. Which one's printed better of these? It could be just my printer. Let me move this out of the way. First picture seemed a little contrasty, and this one was less contrasty. Is there any preference?
I like the one that without the one that didn't say anything on it. The one that says less contrast looks not as good to me.
Flatter.
Yeah.
Okay. How about and I don't know your printer.
My printer is not great, so I can't really say.
What's that, Aaron?
My printer isn't very good, so I can't really say.
Well, the problem that I had on my printer is you lose some of the details. This is my second one.
Yeah, that's what mine look like.
This one got a little contrasty, And so I flattened it out and you can see a little bit more. Tom, your printer printed fine.
Well, this is the, I don't know if you could see it. This is the
Yeah.
first one.
That's the first one?
That's the one that says nothing on it.
Oh, all right.
And then this one says less contrast, and it's not as good.
Oh, it's washed right out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if it's a printer or what.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is kind of what I was seeing is I want you to, you can see a little bit more, and maybe I'll just do them both because you can see her cheekbone.
That one,
And over here, it's kind of just, you lost some detail back there on mine.
I
So
feel like
let's,
more of the contrast, or not the contrast, but the shadowing with the one that is less defined.
you can, say that first part again, Linda?
I like the one that that one shows more of the shadows.
Yeah, okay.
The other one is washed out on that other side.
Okay, I think what I'll do is, I mean, it's easy for me to change, if I'm gonna send, I'll send them both ways. And you can choose which one to print. Tom, you choose the first one and I'll put less contrast. So that the reference you're looking at is good for you to print out. I mean, it just, otherwise doesn't have much. That's what I was gonna go with this one. These were the originals and they printed out like this, and this has no value at all. This one, so I won't use these darker images in the future. So, okay, let's print, let's draw this gal. Let's draw this gal in the time remaining. Oh, so next week, as we run out of time here, I'd like you to draw some eggs. I want you to get comfortable with shading. We didn't do much shading today. We're looking at features today. So draw some eggs, draw some faces, use that formula, memorize that formula. And I mean, you have your own images to draw, or you can Google portrait images. These are just movie star people. So you can add pictures that have a little bit more contrast. But next week too, I'm not going to be using many shots. You know, like these guys here are pretty contrasty. And then next week, I'm going to get into like these kind of folks are pretty flat. But when we get into side views, they have a whole different, this is what we're going to start to break down the side view thing. But they're going to be soft light and not highly contrast. And then we'll start drawing people with contrast. Side view, 3/4. So that's next week. So let's draw this gal here and together. Okay, so do the measurements, stare at her, concentrate. This person is sitting in front of you. Use your dividers. Study the face. Does she meet the formulas, or does she deviate from them? Okay. And I'm going to put her beside me. Okay. Power up. Dog. There is a neat website. Well, it's some guy's personal website, but these are where we're going to go on week 3. Oops. And I'm trying to find her. Create images. Where is she? I got it. All right, well, keep drawing that person. Don't wait for me. In coming weeks too, you've noticed how Dan is drawing. He is using a method called site size, which is a classic method of drawing something that is exactly the same size. And we will talk about site size in coming weeks. I don't know what week that is. But if one easy way to draw, oops, I didn't want her. I wanted this gal. One way of drawing this person is to be able to measure here, and immediately you have the measurement here. If you got the measurement here, you can measure here. So if you make it 1-to-1, that is way easier. So when we talk about it, I will say this again, is that's if you make your reference the exact same size as your painting, you will be able to measure 1-to-1. If you have something called proportional dividers, these things would allow you to say her eyes are this far apart. However, I'm going to make them this far apart. They're in proportion. So you can buy proportional dividers or talk me into making some more of these things. So I can, instead of measuring 1-to-1, I can change the proportion. But that's so. How are you guys doing?
So when I want to sketch in the oval of her face,
Yep.
the top, do I include the hair or do I not? Is that
Include it just so it's there, but know that the top of her head is under here somewhere. You know,
right?
it's
So
not.
measuring to halfway is going to be a little trickier.
Yeah,
right?
you can just kind of fudge in hair just so it kind of looks
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
But once you've done measurements and you know that she fits or deviates from like what I'm measuring, if you got the same, is that her mouth is lower. The corners of her mouth is lower than her eyes. And then the other one, we measured from the eyebrows to the, when I talk about nose, measuring to the nose, I'm talking about the bottom of the nose. This shadow, when we were drawing a shadow, we were shading this space below the nose. So I can see her. So I'm going to say from eyebrows to the bottom of the nose to a chin is shorter. If you can see that, if that's what you guys are also seeing. So what that tells me is she has a short nose from the standard.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, that's, if you made her nose longer, then it's somebody else. So she's not perfect. When we do, you know, if you draw a center line, if you once rather than my paper moving on me here. If you kind of get her center line, it'll kind of keep her features in proportion. I want you to
Where?
square on here. So from here to here, her eyes are in here. I said her nose is above normal. So instead of her nose being here, it's going to be a little higher. And it's kind of pointy up. And then chin is longer. So so I would recommend you kind of keep this thing close, and at least until you get your own system of drawing, you know, kind of do it in some sequence until you get your own sequence, and whatever becomes natural for you. So I can do this. Let's just see here. We are coming towards the end here. Are there any questions? Any comments?
This is really good.
Any? It's good. Any critique, anything you want me to change for next time?
Bill, is there any way that you can send me all of the printouts? I mean, like within the next day or two, so that when I'm traveling, I can get them, because I don't know that I'll have access to a print.
Oh, okay, yeah, the images, right.
The images and whatever printout.
Today was a little bit heavier. I mean, with all these how-tos, yes, I will get those out. And if I add anything, you won't have them. You'll have them digitally.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So, okay.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Yeah, it'll be the same link. I'll send you the link again a couple days before. So, but it's going to be the same one. Okay.
Okay.
So
Sounds good.
Thanks, Bill.
all right.
Have a good week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I don't know how to leave.
It's good to have an expert on board. Bring out the other stuff. It's still in the wrappers, I just don't use it. But anyways, yep,
Okay.
all is good.
Gotta
Fiddling with these cameras didn't turn out too bad. That's kind of a complicated part of it too.